Greetings, YouTube. I almost tempted to turn off my colorful blinking lights, even though this isn't a gaming video. That's what I tend to keep them on for. I saw a thread start on a forum recently, well, a while back, I guess. And it was about playing insane characters. And how to do it, and is it appropriate, and yada, yada, yada. And I didn't really get involved in the topic because it's a hot button issue for me, and I didn't want to read the comments, quite frankly. To be quite frank. I have mental illness. I suffer from depression, anxiety, and PTSD. I have them far more under control now than I ever have. Oh, okay, the depression and the PTSD, maybe. The anxiety is not quite as controlled as it once was. I probably peaked in July of 2016, because I can tell you right now, after November of 2016, things got worse. And having lived in that forever, it's the fabric of my being, really turns me off on people using mental illness as a trope in fiction or comics or TV shows or movies or role-playing games. When I saw the trailer for the film Split, I was ill. I will never watch that movie. I think it's a disservice to every mentally ill person on the planet. I think it's cheap theatrics at the expense of an entire segment of humanity. And there are far too many forms of entertainment that do the same thing. A lot of people think, well, I want to have some color in my character. Well, you can have color in your character. Your character can always wear blue. They could be an alcoholic if you want. They could have a gambling fetish. They could roll marbles in their hand like a certain captain. There's lots of ways you can throw a little color and character in your game that don't mean pulling up horrible forms of crippling mental illness as one of them. An addiction is at least one that everyone is familiar with, so they understand the parameters of it. So they have the possibility of at least treating it somewhat appropriately. Of course, you can play it inappropriately as well. You can play anything inappropriately if you want to. Like the creepy dude that likes to play lesbians. We've all seen those now, haven't we? I'm not hitting on her character. My character is. I just don't think we need that trope in our games. I think it's insensitive. I don't think it adds anything. Now, I have encountered a few people out there that could pull it off. But they're about as common as the number of molars you have in your head. And I don't think anyone that isn't one of those rare people that can do it should be playing with that trope. You're playing with fire. You're playing with someone else's wound, someone else's suffering. Now, you could argue, well, I have mental illness, so I want to play that mental illness in my character. And then I will be honest. If that's what you want to do, at least in that particular case, I can't fault you for doing it. But I also think a person who has a mental illness would be aware that using that as a trope in a game could be damaging to others. I've hurt people in games because I did something without realizing that I had set up a situation that was traumatizing to someone in the group. And I apologized later. What I had thought was just an interesting character ended up hurting somebody. I've done it more than once. I wasn't the most aware individual in my youth. I just think there are better ways of making your characters interesting. I don't think we need this one. And I kind of hope that people could find better options. And the worst one I think I've ever seen in a role-playing game is people playing dissociative identity disorder, often referred to as multiple personalities. Unless you've known someone that suffers from that. I mean, really lived with it. In my case, I literally lived with someone that suffered from that. I don't think you can understand what it's like. And it isn't funny. And it isn't a gimmick. It isn't something that should be bandied about as a bit of color or some plot twist. It's a screaming, gaping hole in them, a wound that won't heal. If you saw it for what it was, and you still wanted to use that as a role-playing trope, I don't want to game with you. Because I can't ever want to see that in entertainment. I don't want to watch that. I don't want to be interacting with it. I would still support a person that suffered from it. I would still do the best to be their friend. But it's hard. It'll eat you alive. And you're not the person with it. So yeah, I don't think insane characters are appropriate to role-playing games. And I'm not discussing the mechanics of insanity like Call of Cthulhu, folks. I accept that characters can be driven insane from mechanically. But maybe we just don't touch this one. And I'm probably going to be pulling in the same crowd that got mad when I said we shouldn't play evil characters in high fantasy. So be it. It's just my thoughts, my position, and maybe my request.